Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Football, and it is January 25th, 2018. I'm back in Jersey. As most of you know, I went down to the Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama. It was an absolutely invaluable experience when it comes to just networking, opportunity, and all of those things. I met the majority of Draft Twitter, got to go out, have a good time with them. It was a lot of fun. Now, I told you guys last week that I'm not going to be going over the conference championship games. Now, if you really want to check those games out and the big game preview, which I'm sure I will be talking about on this show, but you must go and follow Locked On Patriots, headed by Mark Schofield, and Locked On Eagles, headed by Benjamin Solak and Michael Kist. Check those two shows out, follow those shows, and they will have in-depth coverage leading up to the big game between the Patriots and the Eagles. But we are talking the New York Football Giants. Now, you guys know, I'm a Giants fan. I follow this team very in-depthly. Now, the New York Football Giants, a lot of change, and you can say a lot of it is sudden. It's not really the Giant nature to be facilitating coaches through their ranks like they have. You hired Ben McAdoo from your offensive coordinator to head coach after 2 years, and he made the playoffs the first year. Everything went wrong this year, as all of you know. So he gets fired. And then the new coaching search ensues. So this new coaching search ensued, it came, it saw, it conquered, and Pat Shurmur, with the Vikings losing on Sunday, Pat Shurmur is the new Giants head coach. Now, a lot of you may not know much about Pat Shurmur. Pat Shurmur has been a head coach before, and he was a head coach with the Cleveland Browns, where he went 9-23. But you got to put this into context. Like, a lot of people, I hear a lot of Giants fans, the casual Giants fans, saying things like they didn't enjoy this hire. They wanted something more sexy because they had Matt Patricia and Josh McDaniels on their radar. And obviously every offseason it seems like the Giants are hiring a coach. Nick Saban's name got brought up. Bill Belichick's name got brought up this year in the rumor mill. Those weren't feasible. Patricia was, McDaniels was, but they went with other jobs. And Patricia going to the Lions makes a lot of sense because he has worked with Bob Quinn before. That just is a marriage, and you know they wanted to keep Jim Bob Cooter, and bringing in a defensive guy enables them to keep Jim Bob Cooter. McDaniels, I thought he was going to go after that Titans job, but he might have already been in deep with Chris Ballard and the Colts. And you know what? That's good too. He has Andrew Luck. When Andrew Luck comes back healthy, that's a piece that he's going to have a lot of fun with. And I'm looking forward to seeing what Indianapolis can put together. But as for the Giants, Giant fans heard some murmurs about Pat Shurmur, how they're not excited about that. Let me just throw some stats at you about Pat Shurmur. Yes, he went 9-23 with the Cleveland Browns, the head coach, through 2 seasons. His quarterbacks were Brandon Weeden, Colt McCoy, and he was playing with the Browns. Hugh Jackson's been there for 2 years. He has 1 win in that time span. And you could argue that Hugh's roster is much more talented than Pat's was. My biggest issue with Pat Shurmur is the way he handles the media, because he struggled handling the Cleveland media. So how is he going to handle the New York media? The media that never sleeps, in the city that never sleeps. That would be my biggest concern with Pat. I need to see him grow from that, and he easily can do that. You live and you learn. A lot of people flop in their first head coaching gig. Bill Belichick did. Josh McDaniels did. We've seen this happen time and time again. You say Nick Saban did with the Miami Dolphins as well. All these top coaches. So I would just want to see him handle the media better. I want to see him be a man of conviction, come in here, and implement the offensive philosophy that he has implemented throughout the last 5 years in all the places that he has been, because he has had success with quarterbacks. And we have the number 2 pick. Is it going to be Darnold? Is it going to be Rosen? Is it going to be Allen? Is it going to be Lamar Jackson in the second round? Is it going to be Mayfield? We don't know. But we do know that Pat Shurmur has success with quarterbacks. And we can look at Case Keenum this year. Case Keenum was a journeyman. He was on the Texans for 2 years. Averaged about a 56 completion percentage. Was on the Rams for 2 years. Averaged 60 completion percentage. On the Vikings this year. Went to the NFC Championship game. 67.6% completion percentage. 22 touchdowns, 7 picks. Sammy Biscuits, Sam Bradford, when he was in Philly, with Pat Shurmur, he's helped stabilize Sam. Now, Sam's biggest issue was the fact that he was always injured. But Sam Bradford is a smart quarterback. He has good mental processing. He's able to see the game well, and he adapted very well to this system. He goes to Minnesota. 71.6% 50% completion percentage, which is a record. And that's what you want to see. You want to see Pat Shurmur maximize his quarterback's potential. You want to see him use these routes in conjunction with each other to make easy throws, to have the quarterback have easy reads for him to get the ball out of his hands into the playmaker's hands. And you know what? The New York Giants have a really good playmaker. His name's Odell Beckham Jr. Then you look at Evan Ingram, you look at Sterling Shepard. Get the ball in their hands. 3-4 yard gains. Those are not bad. Set the team up, then hit him with a big blow. Also, pound the rock. Shurmur has the acumen to coach football. He has proved that time and time again in many different spots. It's just how is he going to deal with the media is my biggest question mark right now. And he's going to be calling plays. He's going to be calling plays, which that was a disaster with Ben McAdoo. There's no other way around it. Will it be a disaster now? Not necessarily. Me, personally, I don't like when head coaches call plays. I think there is a chain of command, sort of like the military, where you have an offensive coordinator, he handles the offense. You have a defensive coordinator, he handles the defense. As of right now, Shurmur does not have an offensive coordinator. He will bring somebody in. He'll either have the title offensive coordinator or the run game coordinator, something along those lines, somebody to help facilitate the practices and things of that nature, because Shurmur is going to have to be the head coach. And I thought McAdoo neglected that several times throughout this season, where he was in over his head a little bit calling the plays, and he kind of did not do his due diligence as the head coach of the football team. But the thing about Pat Shurmur, and trust me, the guy knows how to coach quarterbacks. And we have the number 2 pick. You have Mayfield, you have Rosen, you have Darnold, you have Allen, you have Lamar Jackson. Where are the Giants going to go? We're not 100% sure yet. Quarterback's on the radar, though. Not to mention, we still have a third-round pick, Davis Webb, on the roster. So it's going to be interesting. And he's also filling out the rest of his staff. And that's something that people, fans especially, do not really pay attention to. The staffs of teams. Players do not get maximized. Their potential is not always reached because the coach does not coach them up well enough. Sometimes the coaches are not really doing their job, and it always gets blamed on the players. But if a coach is not putting the player in the best position to succeed, who are you going to blame? The 22-year-old rookie who doesn't know any better, or the 45-year-old coach who's been coaching for 20 years? Just little things like that I look at. So the Giants are starting to bring guys in. They're retaining a couple guys from McAdoo's staff. Bill McGovern will stay on as the linebackers coach. It's being rumored that Gary Emanuel, who worked with James Bettcher, who is our defensive coordinator, we'll get into him in a second, will be coming in for the defensive line coaching gig. He's been with Indianapolis since, I want to say, 2012 or something along those lines. He's been with Indianapolis for quite some time. We also brought in Tyke Tolbert to be our wide receivers coach. And I like this because he was with Denver from 2011 to 2017, being a wide receivers coach. Has a lot of experience as strictly a wide receivers coach, dating all the way back to 2003 when he was with the Cardinals, and the Bills from 04 to 09, the Panthers in 10, and then he ends up getting a Super Bowl with the Broncos from 2011 to 2017. Obviously with Super Bowl 50 when the Carolina Panthers lost to the Denver Broncos 24-10. So you have some Super Bowl pedigree there as well, and that can go a long way in a locker room. It really can. So I like the fact that he sprinkled that in there. Now, Steve Spagnuolo, more than likely not going to be there, obviously, because we did bring in, and we're going to get into him just in a little bit. And I like Spags, but you got to move on. You got to move on. Spags has done right by the Giants in the past. It might not have been his full fault, but that defensive secondary, and I blame more McAdoo, but some blame's got to fall on the defense coordinator as well. That defense secondary was a mess. It was not like the Giants to see the Giants act the way they did this year. And I know it was a really terrible season where you only won 3 games, but when you're just pointing fingers, it's not the way it should be. It's not the way it should be. But I really wanted to dive into this. Now, this is a huge hire, and I do like it. The Giants go with defensive coordinator from Arizona, James Bettcher. Now, James Bettcher is 39 years old, and he's been with the Cardinals now since 2013, wherein he was the outside linebackers coach for 2 years. He took the defensive coordinator job from 15 to 17. And the main thing that makes this really interesting, not just the fact that he mixes man and zone schemes. He does a lot of man, though. He does trust a lot of man. Brings a lot of pressure. He'll bring 5. He'll bring 6. He'll really get after opposing quarterbacks. The guy understands X's and O's. All those things I love. But one thing that is sort of a projection, I do not hate it, but it will be a projection, is the Giants are switching to 3-4. That's a big deal. Now, for those who don't really understand the difference between a 4-3 defense and a 3-4 defense. So a 4-3 defense means there's 4 down linemen, 3 linebackers. A 3-4 is the opposite. 3 down linemen and 4 linebackers. So the body types of all of these players are different. If you only have 3 down linemen, you need those 3 down linemen to be bigger. You need beefier 5 techniques. You need that nose guard, that 0 technique, to be able to possibly eat 0 or eat 2 gaps, be a 2-gap eater, be able to hold space so those linebackers can scrape over top and make plays. And those linebackers need to be able to cover as well as rush the passer off the edge. Think about the Denver Broncos with Von Miller and players like that. They run a 3-4 system, whereas the Carolina Panthers run a 4-3 system. And they have guys like Luke Kuechly, but they're different body types. So the Giants have, their roster is all 4-3. JBP is prototypically a 4-3 end with the kind of size that he possesses. Olivier Vernon, I think he can make that transition, and JVP is going to have to. But you have to remember, guys, Jerry Reese has really neglected the linebacker position for the Giants. So our roster right now does not have prototypical 4-3 linebackers, let alone 3-4 linebackers. Devon Kennard is going to be a free agent. And I think Devon Kennard will fit into a 3-4 system, so I can see him being re-signed. And we'll dive into the cap in a little bit. But this makes things very, very interesting, the transition from the 4-3 to the 3-4. And usually at first, this is a really bumpy transition. It changes the entire defense, the play calling, the scheme, really everything. That's why I look at Eli Apple now, too. People are like, oh, yeah, we're just going to cut him. Do you? Or do you want to give this kid a chance? This kid who, yes, he's grabby, he struggled, but he's long, and he can press. And if you're bringing a lot of pressure, you want to press some of these guys at the line of scrimmage to disrupt their routes, disrupt their releases. So he might be valuable, especially when you look at the Giants and you look at guys like DRC, Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, who, if you cut DRC, you're saving about $6 million on the cap. So there's a lot of interesting things that are going to play out with the New York Giants over the next coming months. Now, I'm not even talking about the draft, and we all know I love the draft. Just when it comes to the scheme of the defense, what are they going to do? Who is going to replace some of these free agents? And who are you going to bring in to play this 3-4? But before we jump a little bit into the Giants roster and their depth chart and who will actually transition well into the 3-4, I just want to talk a little bit about Bettcher and what he's done. Again, 3-4, heavy blitzing. I would say more man from what I've seen of him than zone, but he definitely has a lot of zone elements to his game as well. And when you look at what he's done with the Arizona Cardinals this season, 2017, their defense averaged 22.6 points a game. That was 19th in the league. They were 6th in the league, just over 300, letting over just over 300 yards. And they were 6th in rushing yards. So they could shut down the run. And they have a pretty good defensive team. Chandler Jones, coming from the Patriots, swears by James Bettcher, swears by his acumen and his knowledge and his ability to adjust, and that's what I love. Coaches who just don't stick to their laurels, coaches who will, at halftime, adjust, who understand the X's and O's, and will make changes to help your team win, and that's what this guy has. So I like the James Bettcher hire. I know a lot of fans are like, yeah, but we're not a 3-4 team, we're a 4-3 team, so why are we doing this? But I'm not going to not hire a guy just because he has a different philosophy. No, I'm going to change my roster up just a little bit, make a couple tweaks, and hire the guy that I think can get the job done, instead of bringing in some schmuck just because he runs a 4-3. That wouldn't make any sense to me. Hire the best guy for the job, and that's James. So I do like this hire right now. And that does not mean that there's going to be projection, because it is a projection. These players, projecting these players to play 3-4, it's projection, because we haven't seen it happen. That's why it's going to be a busy offseason for the New York Football Giants. But you know what? Come the fall, you're going to be seeing a lot of blitzes. You're going to be seeing a lot of sacks, which is something that I absolutely love. The Arizona Cardinals, when it comes to sacking the quarterback, have been able to do it. This past season, Arizona had 37 sacks. That ranked about 19th in the league. The Giants had 27, which ranked 30th. But when you go back to the 2016 season, and you look at Arizona, they led the league in sacks. They had 48 sacks. Carolina had 47. The Giants that year had 35. Then when you look at his first year as a defensive coordinator, Giants had 23 sacks that year. And the Cardinals had 36. So he knows how to get after the quarterback. And yes, Arizona had a lot of good chess pieces on that defense. When you look at their depth chart, I mean, he ends up getting Chandler Jones about halfway through his tenure as the defensive coordinator. He has Patrick Peterson. And then this is the interesting thing. And this defense, when Todd Bowles was there and with Bettcher taking over, they've been known to have that third safety kind of guy. Kind of reminds me a little bit of what Spags did back in 2007. And it was carried over after Spags left with the Giants, where they would kind of have that box safety. Because they have these smaller safeties. They drafted Budda Baker, who ends up going to the Pro Bowl as a special teamer. They have Tyrann Mathieu, a much smaller safety. And then you got guys who are these safety linebackers. They like getting those Sua Cravens type of players, like Dayon Buchanan, Tony Jefferson, who signed with the Ravens last offseason. But they get these guys who are interchangeable, who are athletic enough to drop into coverage, but can come down and lay the boom. There's players like that in the draft, just coming off the top of my head, guys like Kaiser White out of West Virginia. So I could see him going in that direction, looking to get those guys who are interchangeable and can play two positions. It's something I like, though. He can create mismatches. They're chess pieces that are unique, and he knows how to utilize them, Bettcher. And that's one of the things that I think that Giants fans have not seen. And that's not a knock on Spags, but obviously coming from a 3-4, I mean, the last time the Giants ran a 3-4 was 1993, when Mike Nolan was the defensive coordinator. You know what I'm saying? It's been a very, very long time. And when you look at Bettcher in the 3 years as a DC at Arizona, he finished 5th, 6th, and 2nd in fewest yards allowed as a DC. His third down conversion percentage, one of the best in the league. It's top 8 in the league. Third fewest yards allowed per play in 2017. He allowed the fewest yards per rush. Forced the most fumbles since 2015, both of those stats, since he took over. And yes, they had Calais Campbell, and they have a good defense. But the Giants don't have no scrubs on defense. They have good players. The guy runs a good scheme. I'm excited to see him coaching for the New York Giants. And who knows, he might only be here for a year or two. He could get a head coaching job. Or everything could just fall apart again. You never know. But I like this hire. And that does not mean that it's not a projection somewhat, because it is. But that's football, baby. That's football. Sometimes you got to take a risk. And switching to a 3-4 defense, it's a risk. But I'd rather get the guy who is best suited for the job than a guy who just fits a scheme, because that's just ridiculous to me. Then when you take a look at the New York Giants, take a look at their roster. This is where it gets interesting. Because all these guys are really used to playing the 4-3. Now, Snacks will fit in quite nicely as being that nose tackle. He did it with the Jets, and he did it really well. So Snacks is going to be a pivotal part of this. Dalvin Tomlinson was a second-round pick last year. Dalvin Tomlinson, to me, is that one tech in a 4-3. Now, we have Harrison playing one tech. Dalvin Tomlinson, you could put him at 5. I think he can play there. But he's not a pass rusher, so he's going to be one of those space eaters. So when you look at the Giants, you're going to have JPP and Olivier Vernon as your stand-up outside linebackers right now. I think Vernon could do it. I think he has the flexibility in his hips. He can transition into coverage and do those kind of things. And you've seen Spags drop JVP and Vernon into coverage once in a while. But as 3-4 outside linebackers, it's going to be a little bit different. They're going to be doing a lot more. Both of them can set the edge. I'm not worried about that. JVP, his movement skills are not as good as Vernon's. So that's one thing. How is he going to do in coverage? Will he be exposed? That's one thing that I'm going to be watching really intently to see. And I'm sure the coaching staff will be paying attention to it as well. But who's going to be the middle linebackers here? This is my biggest question. Are they going to go and actually draft one? Because Jerry Reese never frickin' did. I mean, you got guys like Calvin Munson, who stepped up and had to play. inside because of all the damn injuries the Giants faced throughout the season. Obviously, B.J. Goodson. But he has not shown the fact that he could stay healthy whatsoever. But I'm sure he's going to be one of those key middle linebackers going to be calling the plays for this team. He's going to really need to step up. And with that comes a lot of responsibility, and it comes the fact that you need to really take care of your body. And I know injuries are unlucky sometimes, but you got to do everything you can to stay out there. And the fact that Bettcher likes to blitz a lot makes you look at these corners, because they're going to be the Patrick Peterson, because Bettcher could just be like, Patrick, shut that guy down. Patrick would do it. We have Jackrabbit, Janoris Jenkins. He has that skill set. He's not as good as Patrick Peterson, but he can lock a guy down. You got DRC, who again, you cut him, that's $6 million on the cap. He only has 1 year more left on his deal. Then you have Eli Apple, another guy with long arms, young. You can pick up his 5th-year option, but we know he's been a knucklehead throughout this entire season. So I just want to know what they do here. You want to try to keep all those guys, especially if they're going to do a lot of blitzing. Bring 6 guys, and you have these guys manned up. Drop Landon Collins down to cover the tight end. Drop Darian Thompson and use his cover skills to maybe cover someone in the slot. Then you also have Andrew Adams. Remember, he stepped up big when Darian Thompson had the foot injury his rookie season. And Andrew Adams played really, really well. PFF had really, really high grades on him. He could be maybe somebody like in the... I don't think he's as physical. He's not even close to being as physical as someone like Deion Buchanan. But he is a safety who can come up and mix it up. Obviously, Napper, can never stay healthy. He's also a free agent as well. So there's going to be a lot of shifting. There's going to be a lot of adding people. Because when you look at the prototypical 3-4 type of defense, think of the Texans. You got guys like J.J. Watt. Now, J.J. Watt, obviously, he's amazing, but that's the body type that you're looking for. You're looking for that big guy, that gap eater, that person who can hold people at the point of attack so his linebackers can come and make plays. 3-4 personnel fits. It's a lot different than 4-3. Those outside linebackers. You think about the stud outside linebackers. Guys like Khalil Mack, Clay Matthews in his heyday. JPP is not as fast, as explosive as those guys. A little bit more tight in the hips than those guys. Your 5 techs. Those are going to be 2 guys now. I'm not sure if Bettcher's going to play a lot of 2-gapping schemes. Imagine 2-gapping doesn't seem to be as implemented as it once was. I know the 49ers did it a lot when they were drafting guys like Eric Armstead and players like that. I know the Patriots run elements of it with the guys they have. But I don't know if Bettcher is planning on doing that. Now, Snacks can do it. Can Tomlinson, is he athletic enough? I think he's strong enough at the point of attack, but you don't want your 5 techs to just be a bunch of 1 techs. You know what I'm saying? And for people who don't know what the techniques are, if you go to Google and type in 3 technique, you'll see the entire line of scrimmage. Now, a 5 technique is a player that lines on the outside shoulder of the offensive tackle. A 3 technique is a player who lines on the outside shoulder of an offensive guard. And a 1 technique is somebody who shades the center to either side. Now, when I say 0 technique, that is somebody who lines directly over top of the center. Then you have your 2 techniques, who are guys who line directly over top your guards, and you have your 4 techniques, who are guys who line directly over the tackles. You can also go 2 eyes, where they shade the inside shoulder as well. But these are just things that the common fan may not think too much about. But the personnel shift is real. You're looking for guys who are 6'4", 310, 6'4", 285, 6'5", 290, something like that to play your 5 techs. So it's very, very interesting to me to see what this team's going to do. Because yes, Dalvin Tomlinson, he's 6'3", 312. He's got that size. But does he have the athleticism to do it? I think he can. I'm a big Dalvin Tomlinson fan. I thought the second round might have been a little aggressive, but I don't think he would have been there in the third. But the fact that we were playing 4-3 at that time and I didn't really see him as a true 3 technique was something that I was a little like, do you really want to get a 2-down player? Because I didn't really see him as a 4-3, 3 technique, 1-gap penetration kind of guy on 3rd down. And 3rd and long, you didn't see him in there too often. Wasn't a big thing. But when you look over this roster and you look at the Giants for next season, right now sitting at $23 million in cap room, and it's looking like Eli Manning is going to be on the team, anything can change. We know that. It's still early in this offseason. But then you have the next expensive guys, JVP. JVP, does he fit the system? The cap number is 17.5. Does he fit the system? If he doesn't, that could get very interesting. So pay attention to that, Giants fans. Olivier Vernon. I think he can fit the system. He's a 4-3 end, I think, by trade, but I think he can be a 3-4 outside linebacker. He's 17 on the cap. Janoris Jenkins, 13. Damon Harrison, 9,600. And then DRC at 85 with 1 year left. That's a prime cut candidate right there. Brandon Marshall, 1 year left, has 6 on the cap. Another guy, kind of a cut candidate. And you know the Giants are going to want to sign some of these free agents. They're going to have to sign guys to fit their personnel to run the 3-4. So, Giants are going to be cutting some people. And the Giants are going to be bringing in some guys who fit this defense a little bit better. And I would not be surprised if the first 4 weeks of the season, the Giants defense does not play well. And we saw that happen with Spags. Spags came in 2007. He implemented his defense, which was slightly different. It was still 4-3. But he implements his defense, and the Giants get absolutely demolished. They almost beat the Cowboys. That was because their offense. They lose to the Packers. And then they play the Redskins. And really, if Mike Sellers catches a ball and goes into the end zone instead of dropping it, Giants lose that game and they may not even win that Super Bowl. Because you start 0-3, it's kind of hard to battle back from there. That's legit right there. But they were able to hold off. The defense solidified. And magical run. And Brady and Belichick did not get their perfect season. We all remember it. We all love it. I know I do. But you just have to pay attention. And I'm going to be talking about it to the people that are going to sign. You're going to see they're going to be these 3-4 type guys. Because right now on this roster, it's a lot of 4-3 type guys. And yes, some of it can be interchangeable. But not all the time. Especially if you want to get the prototypical guys. And it seems like Bettcher and all of those Arizona coordinators have their type of guys. Todd Bowles, he was in Arizona before he got the Jets job. He drafted a lot of those guys that are there right now. And we will take care of that in this draft, in free agency. But first, you're going to need to get some cap space, guys. And how are they going to do that? They're going to cut some of these older players who have big cap numbers. That just leads me to JPP. I'm not saying he's going to be cut, but if they don't think he's going to fit to the system that Bettcher runs, you're not going to keep him at $17.5 million, especially when other 4-3 teams would love to have him. I don't know. Just me prognosticating, me looking over this list, the salary cap calculator on good old overthecap.com, and putting 2 and 2 together. It wouldn't be the first time on this show that we sat here, went back and forth, ended up putting 2 and 2 together and being like, oh, wow, that's going to happen. And then 2 weeks later, it happens. And no, I'm not just talking about, hey, the Knicks are going to lose because, that's just usually a given, sadly. But I like what the Giants are doing right now. Again, I know a lot of fans aren't thrilled with it because it's not the most sexy thing in the world, but I don't exactly know what you want because there aren't the Sean McVays out there right now. Unless you want to go after John DeFilippo, who is a quarterback's coach right now. And even him, he's not Sean McVay. So, calm down a bit. Appreciate the fact that we got a guy who knows his stuff in Pat Shurmur when it comes to the offense. Appreciate the fact that we got an individual who has led a defense 3 years in a row, a very, very stout, good defense, good run defense, defense that can really get after the passer, defense that's going to bring the pressure on 3rd and 5. Not just going to sit in zone and have a guy sit there for 7 minutes. No. So, comes from the Bruce Arians tree, comes from the Chuck Pagano tree. It's going to bring those zone pressures, it's going to bring those man pressures, and you know what? Hopefully on Sunday, we'll be appreciating it. Because Giants fans, and I feel spoiled saying this, but it was a long season and it was hard. But we're not the Browns. Man, I was hanging out with my buddy Mike Nuttall down there at the Senior Bowl. Hashtag sad Mike Nuttall. I reference him a lot on the show. He's a writer with me at Inside the Pylon. He's a Browns fan, man. He lives in Cincinnati. Gets crap all the time. We're Giants fans. We live amongst Jet fans. And they don't give us crap, and if they do, it's just, you're the Jets. It's usually what you say. And I like the Jets. I don't hate the Jets. I don't have anything against them. The Giants are the big brother. Just like the Yankees and the Mets. I'm a Yankee fan. I don't hate the Mets. The Yankees are the big brother. So, you can hate all you want. We know who the quote-unquote big brother of these teams are. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this show. It's just me going back and forth about some of these coaching hires. And, we have the big game coming up with the Eagles and the Patriots, a rematch of the Super Bowl from when I was back in high school, actually. I think I was in high school at that time. I might have been in middle school. But either way, hope you enjoyed the show. Again, Senior Bowl experience was great. I got to hang out with most of Draft Twitter, got to know a lot of people, get the network opportunity. And if any of you are ever interested in joining the Scouting Academy, I highly recommend it. Dan Hatman, former scout for the Jets, Giants, and Eagles, will take care of you. You just go, you can email him, you can check the Scouting Academy out. Just go to the Google machine, type it in. You can find him on Twitter at the Scout Academy. And it really was an excellent experience. I graduated last year. I still got the invite down to Mobile. And it's a once-in-a-lifetime kind of opportunity to go down there. Well, to really go to the academy, get that kind of education, and then get the chance to go down there. Because it is merit-based. It's a meritocracy, as Tony Romo would say. Because he only gets a certain amount of people that are allowed to go down there. But if you love football, even if you don't want to be a scout, but if you love football, hey, go and learn about it. Go and learn about scouting. You can try to leverage that to get a position in scouting, or if you're just a guy who wants to learn. And you know what, either way, you're going to get something out of it. I promise you that. Anyways, this is Nick Filato on Footballin'. Appreciate your time listening to me. This is brought to you on the Grandstand Sports Network, and I hope you guys have a lovely, lovely night. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.